Alright, today we're going to go ahead and do our last video in the video series on the Hornady Lock and Load Progressive Press, and today we're going to have a lot of fun. What we're going to do is we're going to take all the information that we learned in the first 4 videos and we're going to combine them into one, and I'm going to show you how to set your press up from the ground zero all the way up. Okay? The only thing we're not going to do is reassemble the powder measure assembly. I've already got that done. I've got it pretty close to being dialed in. That way we can save time on the video. We got a lot to cover, but we're going to try and do it in short time. So upon that, the first thing we have to do is make sure we have our safety glasses on. We're working with live ammunition, live powder, live primers. I'll tell you what, the primers are the deadly component in this. Okay, make sure your safety glasses are on. Very important. Okay, first of all, what we're going to be doing is loading for 44 special. What we have here is this Ruger Blackhawk. It's a 3-screw model. And when I was in the 3rd grade, my father purchased it as a 357 Magnum, had it fully converted to 44 special. He hand polished the ejector housing, the hand grip frame, polished it out. Nice and silver, looks good. Has the original grips. It was re-blued, but as you can see, it's been dropped over the years. My father, he tried to touch it up the best he could, but I don't plan on re-bluing this because this has a lot of sentimental value. Has a full action job. I just love these old revolvers. They were the best. This thing has about a 3.5 pound trigger. It's butter smooth. So we're going to be loading this ammo to run through this gun. It's springtime. This is the time to be going after rabbits. Now these rounds we aren't going to be using for rabbits because we're using some hollow point XTPs. Real nice stuff. So okay, first of all, let's talk about our recipe that we're going to run. I'm going to be showing you little hints and tricks that I do as we go. First of all, we're going to be running bullet product number 44200. These are the hollow point XTPs by Hornady. Okay, what I do is I take a little sticky note like this, and I'll just sticky note it just under the recipe I'm running. We're going to run unique powder for 5.7 grains of unique for 700 feet per second. Okay, now we're going to be running large pistol primers right there. Now, one thing I highly recommend, okay, you only have one kind of powder and one type of primer out on the bench and one type of bullet, okay? What you don't want to do is, by accident, what you don't want to do is have 2 powders on your bench, you're using the unique, and you get done, you go to empty the hopper, and you reach over and you grab your Winchester 296 and you empty it into there. Guess what? Next time you go to use your Winchester 296, you're going to hurt yourself. So always only have one primer, one powder, and one bullet out on the bench for safety's sake. Okay? So I told you I'll be teaching you lots of good things here. Okay? This is for beginning reloaders, intermediate reloaders, and you know, guys have been doing it a long time. It's a really good to go over this kind of stuff. Okay, first of all, we're going to go ahead, this is all stripped down. We're going to go ahead and put the priming assembly on, okay? First things first. This is, what I'm going to show you is how I set this up from the ground zero. First of all, we're going to grab our slider return spring. Let me pull the camera up here. I'm going to get you a better bird's eye view, okay? Now, can we, yep, we can see that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to put your primer slide on without using any needle nose pliers. But once again, remember, this is a secret between you and me. Don't tell no one I told you this. Take that spring, put it right there, hold it with your finger. Oh, I dropped it. Ah, man, guys, I can't believe you're taking pointers from me. Okay, so we got our spring on there like so. Okay. Now, I'm trying to keep my arms out of the way so you can see. Okay, you take the axle coming off the pulley wheel there, stick it in, flip it around, and look at that, you're set up. So, didn't even have to use needle nose pliers. So you put that in like that, spring first, put the slide in, flip it over, you're in. Now we're going to take the priming tube base, Put it on there in the little alignment hole. Going to run our set screw in. Take your Allen wrench, run it down, snug it up, don't over tighten it, okay? Now we're going to take our safety tube, and remember, once again, don't over tighten this, just snug it up, that's all you need to do. So there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a quantity of 50 cartridges today. So over here, I have my primer tubes, okay? I have this one labeled as a Hornady Progressive large pistol tube. Then I have large pistol primers, large pistol Magnum, okay? A Hornady Progressive short pistol or small pistol tube, small pistol, and small pistol Magnum, okay? So right here we're going to take this. This is the feeder tube for the priming assembly. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the camera back, okay? Go ahead and put this tube down in there like that. Make sure you put the beveled end down. Go back and watch my second video. It'll tell you how to set this priming system up all the way and get it dialed in as well. So now we got that part. I'm going to come over here. I have 50 primers pre-fed into this. There we go. I'm going to pop my top primer down. Now notice how I have my priming tube. My thumb's not on it like that. If those primers went off, you'd lose the end of your thumb. Like that. Always like that, okay? A lot of guys think that it's the powder, the propellant, that's the most dangerous part of reloading. It's not. It's the primer. Once you have the cartridge fully reloaded, it's now becomes the bullet is the most dangerous. Okay, so now I'm going to move the camera back up. And one thing I want to talk about here. Okay, this inner piece that rotates, when you put your shell plate on and you over tighten this, there's a good chance you're going to crack this, okay? So don't over tighten it, okay? Go watch my first video. I talk about putting your shell plate on in depth. There's 4 different problems you can have with a loose shell plate, but also if you over tighten it, as you can see, you can do damage. So go watch that first video and that'll help you out. So remember, first video tells us add a lock washer in between the flat washer and the head bolt. Now, when you snug it up, this is all the tighter you need this. Watch this. Okay? Once that breaks loose, you're done. And the only thing you need on there is that lock washer, and that won't come loose, okay? You can load all you want. Now, we have this really pathetic looking spring. Look how bad shape that thing is. Guess what? We're going to go ahead and run it. I'm going to run it until it breaks. I got, I think, 8 more of these. When this one's dead, then I'll put my other one in. No biggie. I'll run it until it breaks, as long as it works. Doesn't have to look pretty. So, we've got the primer assembly set up and the shell plate. Let's see if we can feed a primer. Here we go. Ready? Voila. Okay. If you watch the second video, that's just how your press is going to run. That video shows you how to dial it in if it doesn't run like that, okay? So, now what I want to talk to you about is we're going to show you step by step how to set your reloading dies up, okay? But I'm going to tell you something. I don't have the Hornady lock and load bushing quick change feature to utilize it for the quick change. Because when I reload, I always fully tear down my dies, okay? I want you to think about something. A lot of guys get a gun and they learn how to tear it down and put it together as fast as they can. That's how you want to be with your reloading press. What you don't want to do is rely on the lock and load feature to set your dies up and tear them down with the lock and load feature, because sooner or later when you go to have to readjust your dies, you're not going to know how to do it and you're going to have to rely on your instructions. I mean, if you think of it this way, I mean, how pathetic would this be? Okay, what if I was doing a demo video and I take these instructions and I'm going to tell you how to shoot this gun, and I say first pick the gun up, place the gun in your left hand, then cock the hammer back 2 clicks, then open the loading gate. You'd go, man, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about, and he's reading off instructions, right? You should be able to run everything on your press without looking at instructions. Okay, so don't rely on the quick change feature to set up every time. It's nice to have, granted, but know how to dial your dies in fast to where you don't need your instructions, okay? If I was going to use instructions to tell you how to set this up, I don't think you'd be watching my video. First of all, run your press, your Hornady press up to top dead center. I'll tell you why I like the Hornady products. They don't have a cam over, which means cam over means some presses, when you come to the top, just as you're coming to the top dead center, the top base plate will drop back down just a little bit, and that's your cam over. I don't like that, okay? I like these because it comes up and it stays to the top. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take your sizing die and you're going to run it in. Now I'm not going to run decapper on this. I'm not showing basics of reloading. All this brass has been resized, okay, decapped, cleaned, polished, ready to go. All cleaned up. What you want to do, just run this die down to where you're touching the base plate. Okay, now at this point, what you want to do is take your finger and run this die, or the lock ring up. Now, I'm going to show you how to tighten your reloading dies, and this goes for all presses across the board. Okay, you're going to find out I'm huge on not over tightening things. This equipment is precisely machined. You don't need to over tighten things. That's how you ruin threads. Take your hands, take your fingers, snug that long lock ring up like that. Okay, take this Allen wrench, tighten the set screw, and it will pull that lock ring together. What does the work in holding this is the fact that you snugged it up by hand and then you tighten that set screw. It locks it in on the top of that bushing, or if you're just using a standard press, it locks it into the top of that press and it won't move. You can do thousands of rounds this way. Now watch, I'll demonstrate. This is tight enough because I can remove the lock and load bushing without the die coming loose from the bushing. So it's plenty tight enough. Okay? So now, we've done that, okay? So what I want to do at this point, I'm going to take a piece of my 44 special brass and I'm going to run it up into the resize die. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prime it. And it went in really nice, really smooth. The shell plate is tight. It felt smooth going into the resized die. It felt smooth going into the primer. So we know we've got that right. Now what we want to do is we want to work the expansion of the mouth of the case. Now, I'm going to tell you this. This isn't a piece of brass. That's gold. To a reloader, that's gold. Okay? The idea behind reloading is to do it as cheap and efficient as possible while producing precision ammunition. I can get 20 reloads out of that, but I'll show you how to get 4 or 5. If you want to get 4 or 5 reloads out of this, over expand the mouth of that brass too much, and that's all you'll get out of it. Okay? What ruins brass is heat, and when you overexpand it, you create heat each time, and what'll start happening is it'll start cracking right here, and you're done. Okay? Your brass is done. So, a lot of guys, what they do when they run the expansion on this brass, if you go to a lot of the YouTube videos, they'll literally be able to take the brass and slide that bullet like a third of the way in. That's way too much. You're gonna shorten the life of your brass. So I'm gonna show you how to set your brass up, or your expander for your brass. Go ahead and run the handle of the press so the shell plate is at top dead center, and go ahead and start running your expander die down. Run it down like you mean it. Don't be slow about it. Run it down there, and what you're going to do is you're going to run it down until you feel it touch that brass. It's just going to touch there. I feel it snug. Okay. Now at this point, what I want to do is I want to raise the handle just a little bit to where I can feel that the brass quits making contact with that reloading die. And I want to begin turning it, and I'm going to keep pushing my brass up until I can feel that there's a little bit of resistance. You don't want too much. Now I've done this enough that I can get to a point where I know I'm just beginning the expansion. Now, that's all you want. You just want just a little bit there. I'm just finessing this. I mean, I'm not muscling this. That's all I'm doing. Okay? This is going to help you get a lot more reloads out of your brass. Okay, I've done it enough that I can feel this. Now, when you feel like you're starting to expand it, you want to get your dial calipers. Okay, these are my digital ones, and I have a set of dials as well. What I want to do is I want to only go roughly 1,000th over. That's all I want. All I want is to expand that enough that I can almost start a bullet feeding into that. Ah, I passed it, guys. I can't believe you're watching my videos, taking lessons from me, man. I don't even know what I'm doing. Right there, that's the sweet spot. Look at that. It's just starting in. You want that thing tight when that bullet goes in. You want it tight. So now, run your lock ring down. Now, I'm going to show you something. Not everybody has the strength in their hands to tighten the lock ring without a wrench. So, I'm going to show you. If you're going to use a wrench, I love this lock and load feature. I'm going to tell you right now, this is why I like, one reason I like the lock and load feature. I can take this, okay, and I can put it onto my single stage classic press real gently like this over here, and I got this all freed up. I love that, okay. So if you're going to tighten this with a wrench, watch this. See my finger? There you go. That's it. All you need. You don't need any more than that. You can do thousands upon thousands upon thousands of rounds right there. The trick is snugging this set screw up. Okay? Watch. Now, I guess I better drop my... There we go. That's tight enough that it'll stay attached to that bushing for thousands of rounds. So, what we've done now, we've got priming assembly, shell plate, resize, and expand. Just expand enough to get the bullet in there, and no more. Okay? If you're running lead bullets and or even jacketed bullets and you're shaving the bullet, expand it just a little more. Okay? Measure it and just run that expansion up to about 1,000ths. That's all you need. So now I brought my powder measure back from my single stage press onto here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start measuring powder at this point. This is where we're going to put just a little more science into this, okay? So, we've expanded it. We're ready to seat our bullet. Better make sure this thing's taping, man. Okay, we're recording. So, now what I'm going to do is, what we're running is the unique powder, okay? I'll tell you a couple things. On the last video, I was running a powder pistol, okay? And I showed you that both these powder hoppers, the one behind the camera that's a standalone, and this powder hopper, they're both Hornady. They both measured in the same tolerance, okay? Some guys say because it's a progressive press and there's linkage, this isn't going to be as accurate. We proved that, okay? Now, I only did that with 3 loads each, but grab a press and go for it. Just measure hundreds of them. You'll see. If you're running a fine ball powder, you know, you can run the baffle and it will help. But when you start getting into a flake powder like unique or stick powder, pull the baffle. You're going to pull your hair out. Your charges are going to vary, okay? It drive you crazy, okay? When you get into the flake powder and the stick powder, pull the baffle and you'll find out that it'll just dial right in and it'll calm right down. Now, it's not abnormal on a flake or stick to be, you know, 10,000ths either way. Now, sometimes 2,000ths, okay? When I'm shooting my pistol and my pressures aren't real high, I'm not really worried about that. If I'm maxing out and my pressures are maximum, then I'm going to my single stage and I'm using my trickle feeder. So with that in mind, let's start dialing this in. And remember, pack your powder. And I'm going to go ahead and now pull my cap. Remember, keep it covered. Keep the powder covered all you can. Keep the humidity out of there. So now I'm going to go ahead. And remember, in the last video, we worked a click, 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 click. That's what we want. Okay, I'm going to come up. Hear that click, click. what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a couple of them. You know, we know that 2 of them won't overfill the mouth of the case, so, you know, we're pretty good there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn my scale on. And I'm going to begin dialing this in, and once I'm close, then I'll start bringing the camera in so you can see that what I'm telling you is the truth. And I'm going to use 2 scales today. I'm going to use my beam type and my digital, okay? We're going to use both of them to make sure that we're verifying our charge right. Okay, I'm wanting 5.7. Okay, I'm at 5.4, okay? But I'm not going to touch that because I just told you that the unique, it can kind of fluctuate. Before we go turn stuff, let's make sure that we're sitting at 5.4. Okay, 5.4 right there. So I'm just going to snug that out just a little. I mean, just a horse's hair. Okay, and now I adjusted this, so let's cycle it a couple times. Okay, always remember something. It's easier to go up in adjusting the powder because as you're coming down, it's filling it. But when you got to go down on the powder, you're cranking this in and it's compressing your powder, so your powder's not going to be consistent for a couple charges. So, but in between each one, every time you adjust that, you want to run the first one and throw it back into the hopper. Let's see where we're at. 5.6. Now, here's why I use my beam type scale is my digital doesn't throw odd numbers. I won't get 5.7. I'll either get 5.6 or 5.8. Okay, here's 5.6. See my cadence? My click click. Okay, so here we are. You know, it's throwing 5.6. Okay. I missed that, guys. Can you see that 5.6 on there? Now, what's kind of funny, you'll see here guys going, oh, you can't throw unique with that progressive powder measure. It won't work. Wow. Really? Really? Can you see that? All I'm seeing is glare. I hope that you're getting a good bird's eye view of that. Because one reason that I'm not, you know, cutting and pasting my film here, my video, is because I don't want someone to go, well, maybe he messed up and cut that part out. If I mess up, you're going to see it. And I'm not going to lie. Okay? Here. Does that look like I'm lying? 4 in a row of 5.6. Okay? Let's just take that and run. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to try this. This is all zeroed out. I got it set for 5.7. Oh, yeah, it's not zeroed out right, guys. If I had that scale zeroed out right, it would just be dead on. That's okay. I'm going to do some basic reloading videos, and we'll be using the beam type scales. So that's fine. I'm not worried about that. So I'm dead on. Recipe's calling for 5.7. I'm throwing 5.6. This won't show 5.7. A tenth off. Shoot. A tenth off, that'll still shoot more accurate than I can offhand or bench rest. I'll guarantee you, coming out of a 5.5 inch barrel. So now, I'm going to go ahead and at this point, I'm going to powder this bad boy. Okay? I've got powder. Now wait, I'm sorry. I'm going to back up here. I'm going to pull the powder out. I'm going to tell you why. Okay? Whenever you have to stop in the process, dump the powder where you're at. Okay? Watch my past videos. You'll see that. Now I'm going to set my seat die up. Okay? Crank it down like you mean it. I'm going to run this bad boy down. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this piece of brass in there, and I'm going to run the brass up. Okay? And I'm going to just run this die down until it touches. I don't want to touch it. When it's touching, it means that die is ready to go into the crimp stage. You don't want to crimp it. Okay, oh, I touched it right there. Now, all I'm going to do is I scored the top of this die so I have a line. Just put a little straight edge and a razor blade and score it. And I'm going to back this off one turn. That's it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this lock ring down. And now, I love this lock and load feature. I can't get to that set screw, so I just move that. There we go. You didn't see me use a wrench on that, did you? Most people aren't going to have to use a wrench. I'd say you kind of have to use your wrenches to loosen them. That's fine. That shows you how tight you get it with your hand. You'll loosen that set screw, and then you'll still have to use a wrench to kind of break it loose. See? Even by you doing that by hand, that will stay on there, okay? So now I've got this set to where the brass is going up into the die, but it's not touching for the crimp. So now I need to set my correct overall length. And our correct overall length on the book is 1.480. That's why I emptied the powder. Look at this. 1.480. No primer. It's just an empty cartridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, okay, I'm going to move well, no, I don't want to move that. I'm going to bring camera over. We're just going to adjust this up, okay? And now I'm going to begin indexing the live cartridge around. Well, it's not live, it's my dummy cartridge. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to run this down till it bottoms out, till it touches the top of that bullet. There, that's 1.480. Look at that. And this is turning because my lock and load wasn't in all the way. So we're good, okay? So there. That's the lazy man's way. So now I'm going to drop this out, okay? There, call that my bullet jig for 1.480 right there, okay? So 1.480, that's sweet. Okay, so now I can go back to the one I primed, put it in, come around. I'm going to powder this bad boy. I'm going to take me a bullet. I'm going to run it up. And now I should be able to measure this. 1.489. How can that happen, guys? That's okay. I'm just going to... It's only a rough, okay? It roughs it in, that's all. Almost there. 1.484. Okay, 1.481. I'm going to take that. There we go. Because I'll tell you what, because the ogive of the bullet, next one could be, you know, a little lower than that. So that's fine. So now what I'm going to tell you is there's just a little bit of copper shavings. So what I'm going to do is watch my bullet seating, and if I keep getting those, I need to expand the mouth just a little more. I'd rather be a little under than a little over because I can keep coming out without, you know, degrading the brass. Now, the last but not least, we didn't set that up for crimps because I taper crimp, okay? I taper crimp all the way. To taper crimp, what we're going to do, take the brass out, run your shell plate up, okay? Turn your adjusting screw here all the way out. Sorry guys, I've only got two hands. So, you're going to run this down, run it like you mean it. Okay? Okay, I am touching the shell plate, so no, not quite. Hang on, let me put the camera back here. So you're going to run that down so you're touching the shell plate, okay? There we are. then you're just going to tighten. Now this is the lead. This is the lead, okay? Now, I turn my adjusting screw all the way out. I'm going to run this cartridge all the way up. And I'm going to run this down. Okay, there, I'm on it. Okay. I'm on it right there. And then you're going to back it out, okay? And you're going to turn it in a half a screw for a mild crimp, full screw for a firm crimp. These only have to be mild, guys. They're only cruising at 800 feet per second. The more you crimp it, the more you're going to wear your brass. Remember, brass is gold. There we go. Just got my first cartridge, okay? So now, when you get your press set up, at this point, don't start running them. Okay, make sure you got all the little bells and whistles working. Okay. And now at this point, look down there, I can see my powder. My eyes are my powder cup, okay? Now, the one thing we had question on was, did we expand the mouth of the case enough for the bullet? Looks like we did. And it's just right there. If it wasn't expanded so much, I think I'd be peeling a little copper off there. A little more, I'd be too much on the brass. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to do one more. Okay. Watching for my powder. Watching for my powder every time. Okay. Voila. What do you think of that? So what do you think of my video series? Is this the way you would like your press to work? When you went and you purchased your Hornady Lock and Load Progressive press, is this how you wanted it to work? Okay. I'm not going to go real fast because I'm trying to talk to you guys and I'm trying to get this going. I'm trying to put the brass in there and I'm checking the powder before I put the bullet. So I'm not going to, I think that my my expander could be up just a little more. I'm not too worried about it though. So now, there I am. I'm just taking off running. Alright, so I hope that these videos have been informational for you. My goal, in case you didn't catch this, a few months ago I made a video. It was a joke video, and when I put it on, wanting the guys to laugh, instead of all the guys laughing, one of the guys said, "Hey, how do you get your press to run so good?" And I was like, wow, that's crazy, that I could put a video on YouTube and start helping guys with their presses. Because one of my hobbies is helping guys with get into reloading. I don't charge for it. It's purely a hobby. I make a lot of great friends. I'm always talking reloading, always talking guns, and so I thought, every time someone emails me or calls me with a question, now I can say, hey, go look at these videos. And I can tell them which video will help them with the particular part of the press they're struggling with. Now, if you want to get to know me, go to the firearmsforum.com. I'm on that forum. I go by 76 Highboy. You'll probably see me on most of the gun forums out there, but the firearm forum is my home. It's just where I like to be. If I visit any other gun forum more than once a month, that's a lot. And some of them I haven't been on for months on end, So as you can see, we're trucking right along and running smooth. My primers are feeding. Okay, my brass is feeding up into my reloading dies smoothly. I have powder spill over on the mouth of the case, and my eject is working great. And now, one thing I'll tell you, as you can see, I'm just sitting here cranking these out. And I'm not sitting here measuring every round. I don't have to. I know. I showed you guys how accurate my powder measure throws powder. Okay? Without a doubt, I know what my powder measure will do. One thing I highly recommend is kind of like on your primer feeding system. Take a few hours and play with it. You know, throw it off adjustment so the primers don't feed, and then dial it in. Go to my second video. You'll see how to do that. Okay? But I also recommend you take a few hours and you mess with the powder measure system, and you put your powder in with the baffle and make your measurements and take the powder out. You know, I'd log a lot of hours on the powder. You know, just kind of finding out the tricks of what powder works with what baffle and what powder doesn't, and you know. One thing I'll tell you is this little thing I didn't tell you on my last video on the powder is sometimes I'll hear guys say, well, my powder measure is not throwing accurately. I can feel my powder measure cutting the powder. That raises a flag, a red flag. And I'll tell you what that is most of the time. It's because a guy is using a rifle rotor instead of the pistol rotor. He didn't want to change the pistol. And so he's running like 2.4 grains of some kind of powder for a real low 38 special round. And what's happening is the head of the metering insert is now scraping on the body of the powder measure. And what he thinks is he's cutting the powder. That's not it. He's scraping. I didn't tell you that yesterday just because, you know, it's kind of hard to get all the information out there. So, like I say, you know, put your rifle rotor in and start putting powder in there, and run that powder down as far as you can run it, and watch the accuracy charges, and do that with all the powders you have for that rifle rotor, okay? And learn how all those powders work in your powder measure, and then get you a standalone powder measure and do the same for it, and compare your measurements. When you start doing that, you start getting really good. You just start knowing what you can get away with and what you can't. And then what will happen is you'll hear someone say, well, you know, I'm running this kind of powder, you know, and I'm having this problem, and it's this many grains. And you'll say, well, what rotor are you running? Well, I'm running my rifle rotor. Well, guess what? Put your pistol rotor in there, you won't have any problems. So, as you can see, 50 rounds. Knocked out 50 bad boys right there. Okay. My primer's fed. Okay. I didn't smash any brass. My eject works. I don't have powder all over the place. And it's smooth going. No, we didn't have any problems. If I'd have made 4 videos and showed you, okay, and showed you this last video that it worked and it wouldn't work, then you could call me a liar, okay? But I'm not. So, I'm going to do 2 things here. I'm going to weigh my last powder charge. What do you think of that? 5.8? You want to know what's funny? When I set that on there, it toggled back and forth from 5.8 to 5.6. That's cool. $5.8. I'm supposed to be around 5.7, and this won't throw odd numbers on the. Look at this. 5.6. That's so close. Okay. You want to know something funny? I have guys tell me that. Now don't miss this. Hornady guys. I have guys say that this powder measure will not throw the same charges if I do it by hand or by handle because of the linkage. I just ran 50 of these by hand with the brass, and the first 3 were 5/6. I just ran the last few getting 5/8, but it was toggling between 5/6 and 5/8, so it's just right there. It's like a tenth off. It could be 5/7, and that's really what we wanted. That was by handle. From hand to handle, it's not enough to say it doesn't work, that it's not dependable, it's not accurate. It's precise. So with that in mind, man, we ripped it up here. So I'm kind of thinking of doing a basic reloading, starting with a single stage. I've had requests for that, so be looking for those videos. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do them, and we're going to run them on as much of the Hornady stuff as we can, because I like Hornady. If you're getting into reloading, let me tell you why I like Hornady. Okay, go in, read the history of the late Joyce Hornady, and I'm such a fan of that guy. Read the history of the Hornady Corporation. Even though they're as big as they are, they still have, you know, the mom and pop feel. You call customer service, you get guys that care. But I'll tell you right across the board, all these reloading companies are that way. They're all really great. So I'm not going to even begin to badmouth any one of them. I like the Hornady because it doesn't matter what bullet I shoot. It doesn't matter what component I need for reloading. They have all of it. I can start out and just do basic reloading, and I can go as advanced as I want with every single thing. I can order their catalog, and I have access to everything. Okay. Now I have a mix and match of everything on my bench, but the biggest thing I get here is the Hornady, and the next thing I'm going to get is their powder scale. When I get their powder scale, I'll probably do a video on their powder scale. What I'm not going to do in any of my videos is I'm going to knock any other reloading company, because we're all reloading guys, and they all do a fantastic job. But for me, Hornady fits the bill. And I'll tell you something, you just saw it work. Don't let anyone tell you that Hornady is a bad press. Don't let them tell you it won't work. You just saw it work. Go back to all my videos. If you can't figure it out, go to the firearmsforum.com, become a member, look me up, 76 Highboy, and say, hey, I can't figure this out, and I'll do my best to help you. And if not, there'll be someone on there that can. There's a lot of us that have this press. So anyway, I really thank you for watching these videos, because if you guys are a success, and I appreciate your patience with the length of them. I know they're long. So watch all of them if you haven't. Keep watching them over. Have fun reloading. Keep your powder dry. Keep your primers dry. And the last thing I'll tell you, I am not responsible if you hurt yourself reloading or shooting. Okay? I highly advise, highly recommend that you get professional reloading instruction. Okay? I know they have them in your area. And I highly recommend you get professional shooting instruction as well. And if you do that, it could be the best thing you ever did in your life. Get your wife involved. Get your kids involved. My wife shoots. My daughter grew up shooting. And it's a great hobby for the whole family. And it's a great sport. For me, guns is a way of life. And that's just, it's what I breathe. And this reloading becomes such a part of life that it's every bit as much involvement and a part of it as the shooting is. So reloading for me is a way of life. So anyway, okay, I'll quit yakking. So I'll start the next videos. Hurry up and watch all these and get to my next videos. And if you know someone new to reloading, let them know about my videos. Come to the firearmsforum.com. 76 Highboy. Have a good day.